The shop is open. This is the Talk About RC podcast, where we talk about RC racing, crawling, bashing, building, and dad stuff. Get back to work and listen, amigo. I'm your host, Pablo Guerrero. Boom. We're back in the shop. I'm crushing some work because I got some stuff coming up. Gotta make that money. Just kidding. Now I'm behind on, well, you guys don't know what day it is, but it's Saturday. I'm behind on some projects. I need to get into some RC projects, so I gotta get some work done. So you're gonna be under the hood with me today as we do some welding, so hopefully the sound isn't terrible. But I'm going to be doing a little bit of welding while we're talking. And I wanted to talk a little bit about format change. So we're going to be talking about the frame set for success soon. And I know growing this podcast is a marathon. I know it's not going to be a short endeavor by any means, and I know it's going to be something that's going to take time to grow. I'm cool with that. I've grown my social for a while, so and what I love about my social media is that it's not, I didn't pay for any advertising on my social media. It's all organic growth, which I commend myself for doing that. I just never thought that I've paid for boosting on my business side, and it has nothing to do with RC stuff, but I've never paid to boost an RC thing. It's just not, I don't see the return on investment for followers, because what's that about? For me, I much more appreciate my community that I've built. And I don't say I've built, I guess. I just mean the community that has been built and that I'm a part of is big for me. And I enjoy doing that. And I enjoy being a part of that. And, you know, there's not a return. The return on investment for me is the people and the being able to interact with them, that kind of a thing. So one of the things that I wanted to get to was the format of this. Now, I feel like I listen to podcasts all day, and I know not everyone else does, but I listen to them all day because I work by myself for the most part. My wife works here when she can, but she's doing a gig at the school, which is super beneficial to us. So with that, I'm solo again. And I started the business solo, and my wife helped out a lot, but it's all the main fabrication and stuff is on me. And so I listen to podcasts all day. I'm in my head all day, thinking about things, listening to podcasts. I listen to Rogan a lot. When Oh Canada, the podcast is on, I used to listen to that a lot, and Pop Jaw. What are some of the other ones? Unashamed. That's the Duck Dynasty guy. That's a really good one. There's one called The Angry Designer, Lex Friedman. I mean, I listen to a bunch. So it kind of takes up my day. And I have a TV out in the shop so I can actually Bluetooth the audio to my headset while the TV's on, so I can watch video podcasts while I work, which is a lot of fun too. So format, I don't know that I'm really going to delve down the video aspect because I already do a live with Tony, and that's already captured on video. So I don't really know that I need to do that. But time, that's another big question, right? And so time is a tough one for me. I always have to balance my time and figure out how I can make more of my time, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm thinking is I've been kind of going back and forth on how long these podcasts should be. I really love listening to longer ones, but I know not everyone else has that same kind of window. And so I'm wondering kind of like what's the best wheelhouse. I think an hour, like 40 minutes to an hour is probably good. But I know most people, their commute is like 30 minutes. And so they would take advantage of that while they're working. So I see that being a benefit. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the best time frame is. I think being a solo show, long times are tough. I mean, doing the little segments here and there are awesome for me, but I think the talking for if I had to listen to one person talk for an hour, unless they were highly entertaining, which I don't believe I am, but unless they were highly entertaining, that's the only way that I think I could be captured by them for an hour. Shorter ones are good, but then it's a double-edged sword, because then sometimes I don't listen to the short ones because I don't want to go and interact with my phone. Like a lot of times what I do is I get in the podcast mode and I'm just listening, and then I want to get to work, and so I put on my earbuds or whatever, or however I'm listening, and then I just get to work for a certain amount of time, and then I can be like, okay, and close that book and on to the next thing. So there's a little bit of that too. So I'm kind of really wondering what the best route is. I think I really like the 30 plus minute range, because then it also gives us time to kind of identify with the person and what the tone and the topic is. But let me know. So I started posting these on YouTube. Let me know in the comments on YouTube or in the comments on Instagram. I'm going to be posting short clips on Instagram of this kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think I should go 30 minutes or less? Maybe do a couple times a week? Or do you think I should stick with my 40 plus, 30 plus, and do once a week? Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see what we can do. Do you have tiny hands? Do you insist on working on small things? Head over to ccxrc.com to get all your 124 scale needs. If you want to make your 124 scale weigh as much as your 10 scale, he's got you covered. They also have electronics too. Try the Mighty Chihuahua or the Baby Goliath and make your 124 scale a Mighty Mouse. Use code RCAmigos at checkout for a 5% discount, and keep listening for specials. ccxrc.com, and don't forget to tell them in the messages that you're going to shoot them in the baby maker with a BB gun. Tell them Pablo sent you. So I finally made it out to the trail. I don't know why this summer has been so light on trailing for me, but for some reason I just haven't had the ability. Ooh, this might be loud. That's metal on metal. So I haven't had much time to actually get out on the trail, which sucks. Been busy with other stuff, work. We did a lot of racing this year. So it's not like I haven't been doing RC. It's just been doing a lot of racing, done a fair amount of building, making other content. This podcast, been doing lives, more YouTube. So I just really haven't had a chance to get out on the trail as much, and I love the trail. That is probably my favorite part of RCing, is getting out in the environment and having fun out there. But I just haven't had a chance to do it much. It never really has lined up for me this year. So speaking of lining up, I'm trying to line up this sign face that I just made. Doing a cool sign, a neon sign that says Easy Riders on it. Pretty cool. So I finally made it out. And my daughter came out with me, which was super cool because she wants to start hiking more. We're getting into hiking season right now. So hiking season for us is, summertime's not bad. It's not bad at all, but you know, it's just a little hot, a little muggy. I mean, I don't mind it one bit, but it's not the perfect weather. Perfect weather for us is probably late August through October is perfect trailing weather. It can be kind of soggy out, but it also is very, like the colors are pretty. You get some, I like driving in like through waterfalls and stuff like that kind of thing. So it can be beautiful weather out at that time of year. And it's cool, it's crisp. You know, you get those crisp mornings, that kind of thing. So right now is kind of like the perfect time to go hiking and to go trailing. So we went out and we did a short, actually that kind of is a segue. We did a short little hike and it was cool because I said, hey, why don't you try, I asked her, I said, do you want to try, you know, shooting some video while we're out on the trail? And she's like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And so I got her, I gave her the camera and I got her going. Hopefully this isn't too loud. If it is, I don't know what to tell you. I gotta get work done. So I got her out on the trail, handed her the camera, and she's been real artistic lately. So I was like, hey, you tell me how you want, I kind of gave her some tips. And then I was like, just tell me where you want to drive or where you want me to take the car and you do the shooting and I'll do the driving. And so she did, and the video conceptually was really good. Execution, I probably should have helped her out a little bit with keeping the camera square, or not square, but keeping it steady. But it was still a lot of fun. You know, I really needed to get out there. It's kind of a bummer because we took Lazarus out and we took the new U-Tron out, put some new wheels and tires on it, and I wanted to get some good video of that. But we got about a mile and a half in and I got a call from my wife and she's like, hey, you got to get home. Something's wrong with Lucy. Lucy's our dog. And so long story short, took her into emergency vet. We ended up double timing back and meeting my wife at the vet. And this is on a Saturday afternoon. And it turns out that they think she broke her tail. We have no idea how. It's super bizarre, but it happened. So that's that. She's way better now. I think it was kind of one of those things where I think it probably was dislocated. We didn't get x-rays. The vet our vets are really good out here. They're not trying to take your money or anything like that. They're more realistic. And, you know, at the end of the day, I was like, so is this like a finger break, you know, where you tell me my finger's broken? I've broken all of my fingers except for one thumb. But I'm like, is this, you know, you tell me it's broken and just to take it easy and maybe we wrap it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, kind of a thing. And she's like, that's exactly what's going to happen. So we ended up not getting the x-ray and we ended up just kind of riding it out. She took a bunch of meds and she's better now. So that is good. I'm happy for that. But where I was going with this story, where we were starting, is I wanted to talk a little bit about trail prep, like what I do for hiking. So there's two types of trail things that we do. We do the hiking, and then we also do the trails where it's like a quick hit, where I know you don't need a bunch of equipment to get out there. It's just more of a let's get out on the trail and play kind of a thing. We have a couple trails that are short that way I can get to quick, so I don't really like this one that we were on. We were a mile in or whatever, and you know, it wasn't too hard to turn back around and come back fast. So there's that. So let's say you're going on a short trail. Maybe it's like a easy little walk. Some things to bring. If you're traveling with kids, always bring a few things. Number one, bring snacks, granola bars, beef jerky. Make sure you have enough water, especially if they're with younger kids. There's nothing worse that like kills your vibe is when your kids start getting pissy because they don't have food. Like there's nothing worse than that. And you know, I remember one time I went out with my stepdad, and my son was just not having a very good day. And he knew it right. My stepdad knew right off the bat. He's like, "Well, did you feed him?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, don't get pissed," because he saw me getting flustered with it. And he's like, "Well, you can't be pissed about that. He's hungry. He doesn't know how to feed himself." So I was like, "Oh yeah, huh." So always bring food. Always bring water or something to drink. The other thing that I've found, and this is funny, I don't know why. Hold on, I'm gonna send this screw home real quick. Hopefully it's not too loud. 1, 2, 3, go. Woo! So one thing that I found was my son, for some reason last year, just really liked to go to the bathroom on the trail. Like, and I'm not talking like take a leak. I'm talking like full bear style. And he was just all about it. And so I learned quickly to take toilet paper with me on the trail. So another story. I won't get into details. Maybe I'll get into details on the live, but I had one hit me like that when I was way out. I used to go out early in the mornings before anyone woke up on work days and try to get a couple miles in. I think I'm going to start doing that again. But yeah, you always want to have toilet paper on you. It can create some awkward experiences. Send this one home too. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Woo! That is loud. Hopefully it's not too crashy for you guys. So what do we got? We got food, toilet paper, water. First of the 3 things that you want to bring. The next things are all mechanical, I would say, for these short ones. So these short ones, I take a toolkit. I have an awesome Reefs RC toolkit that I take, and it's got the handle that's got all the typical sizes, and it's got the what's it called? It's got the wheel nut on, or the wheel nut wrench on it, all that kind of stuff. Definitely need to have that. Take an extra battery. Now, there's a couple different ways to get out there on these little short ones too. You can instantly put your car down and walk behind it the entire way, or you can put it on your backpack. So that would be the other thing that I would say is bring a method to tether your truck to your backpack. I should make a video about this, and now that we're talking about it, I think I will, because that is super important, because inevitably at some point you're going to break out on the trail. You're going to break on the trail, or something's going to happen. You're not going to be able to run. It just happens all the time. So definitely I would say, bring something to tie your truck to your backpack so you don't have to carry it by hand. Carrying it by hand isn't the end of the world, but it's just not very convenient. So I use these things. Intern I had, actually as an employee for a little bit, had these things called Abadabs. They're like a bungee cord with these 2, I don't know what they're like the cinch button kind of things. And so what I do is I look for backpacks that have like a hoop. They have 2 hoops on the bottom on the back, and then 1 hoop at the top. And so I hook my back axle through the 2 hoops on the bottom, and then on the top one I hook my front axle to the handle hoop with that bungee cord. It's awesome. It really makes life easy for walking around with your truck. So I'd say take that, take your extra battery, and with those, you know, I guess the next thing I would say is maybe take a first aid kit. Most of these short ones, you're really not gonna, you'll survive getting out, right? If something happens. Now comes the long ones. The long ones are tricky. You have to commit. So you have to make up your mind if you're going to do a walk behind your truck the entire time, or if it's like a destination hike. So some of if you watch our YouTube, you'll see our trail amped videos where sometimes, you know, most of the trail amp videos, we crawl the entire way. Some of them, I've been on the hikes before, and so I know where the good spots are. And I like to take, you know, this only really works for some of my trucks. So like for instance, the Lazarus truck, that is not a backpacking truck to take on a hike that's 7 miles long and you're backpacking for 6 miles of it with the Lazarus truck. That is not the truck to do that with. Now we have hiked behind that truck, driving it the whole time, and we've done like probably 5 miles with it, but it's a heavy truck, so it eats batteries and all that kind of stuff. So there's that to consider. So on the long hikes, sometimes what I do is I take a lighter truck, like a line killer truck, and that's actually my bug. I call it the Bushido, or not the Bushido, the Bisho bug, which means bug. It's the Bisho Sendero is what I call it, because it's a Sendero kit. But you know, I carry that up on my backpack. That's probably 7 pounds, and I take tools. I take basically all the stuff that we just talked about: tools, toilet paper, snacks, water, obviously. But then when I go on the long ones, I take extra stuff. So I have a little pack. And so here's another tip: when you carry like your toilet paper, roll it up. Two tips. If you're just rolling up some toilet paper off of your roll at home, get it nice and tight rolled and put it in a Ziploc baggie, like a sandwich bag. Throw a lighter in that bag also, and have that Ziploc baggie in your backpack, so in case anything happens, you don't really want to burn your toilet paper, but you've got a dry lighter, like if you fall in the water or if it starts raining or whatever. You got a dry lighter to light a fire if you need to. So that's one tip with that. The second one I would say is bring a first aid kit that's waterproof. So I have a pretty good first aid kit. Some of the hikes I go on are pretty aggressive, so I want to make sure that I have the stuff on me that will either get me stable or get someone else stable. So the toolkit, the first aid kit has, you know, all the triage stuff. It's got Band-Aids, it's got ointments, this one has thread and needle and scissors and all that kind of stuff. And it's got an ice pack. I don't remember. It's got a bunch of stuff, but it's compact. And always keep that on you if you're going on these long ones. Make sure to take on, I have a really awesome RC 4-wheel drive LiPo to USB adapter, and so I take that. I always take extra batteries, more than I need to, but I try to conserve on weight, but I take that so that I can plug in my phone if I need to. And then I also have a solar powered battery bank that I put in my backpack in case I need it. I mean, you can tell these are kind of getting to the long hikes where there's no service and there's no anything out there. I take that. I have a life straw. Sometimes I take my trekking poles. The life straws are nice because if you have a creek or if you have runoff or something, you stick the straw in and slurp up water and it cleans it out for you. That's really nice. So you got the tools, you got the batteries. Always be mindful on the batteries too for, how much battery you're going to need and, having one extra. The batteries for charging stuff is awesome. I've used it so many times. You don't want your phone to die out there just in case. Bring a whistle. Bring something that is like a secondary fire starter. So if that's a magnifying glass on a compass, or a compass is really good to have also, just to kind of understand your bearings. I guess that's probably one of the biggest ones. If you're going to go on one of these hikes that's intense with your RC car, make sure you know you're not getting in over your head. So understand the direction. When you get out of the car, look at your compass and see which way you're heading when you get out of the car, and that way it'll tell you, if you're 7 miles in and you get lost, your compass will tell you the general direction that you got to go. And check your compass frequently. The other thing I do is I have an app called All Trails. Ooh, they should sponsor this podcast when we start doing the hiking stuff. Hang on one second, let me take a drink. Monster Energy. Yeah, buddy. Okay, so let's go. What was I talking about? I was talking about, see, this is where it's nice to have a co-host, because then they can be like, come on, stupid. We were talking about, All Trails. Yeah, so All Trails is awesome because you can download their app. Drill the hole, boom. You can download the app, and the app will you can download the GPS maps so that your phone will do the GPS. Now, if you go and you watch one of my YouTube videos of Heather Lake, I actually lost the trail because I was out in the snow. I lost the trail and I used my GPS to get me back on trail, and I was thankful for that. So All Trails app is really awesome. You can download the GPS map, like I said, before you get out there, before you lose service, so you can kind of get your bearings. Bring a life blanket just in case. I pack in that same baggie that has my toilet paper and my lighter. I pack enough ibuprofen in case I need it, because odds are I'm going to be able to get down off the mountain with my own power, or under my own power. So I have a good amount of ibuprofen and stuff in there, so that if I need to gut it up and just get down the hill, I can take a handful of ibuprofen. And I don't recommend that. I'm just saying, if you need to, take some ibuprofen, and if you get a sore back or something like that, take 2 or 3 ibuprofen, or I don't know what I have in there, Aleve, Advil, something like that, so you can get down the mountain. So that's another thing to put in there. Oh, actually, I'm walking over to my pack. That's something that I would suggest too. If you have a pack, or if you do this frequently, get a pack just dedicated for hiking. That way you don't have to repack it every time. And so I have a great hiking pack that I use for it. So let's see here. Let's throw it up on the table. One of the things that I would suggest having is having a little, you can kind of hear it. It's a little box full of extra parts. So like extra screws, extra clips, a servo horn. What do I have in here? I have my USB thing, servo horn, clips, screws, an extra pinion. I have extra hexes, 12 millimeter hexes, extra grub screws for the drive shafts. So that's in one of them. Bring a Sharpie and a pencil. The other thing I bring often is bring some candy. You never know when you're going to need a little bump. Make sure you have your cords in there. I have a headlamp in here. That's a USB rechargeable headlamp. I have a Cow RC mat that is 4x6. I shouldn't say in case. When you have to do a trail repair, you're always going to have to do a trail repair. So I have that. This pack, if you're going on the long hikes, you're always going to want to be prepared with like what other clothes you're going to need. So pulling out my pack. So I have some like Peachios in here, and I have some granola bars in there. In the Ziploc, I have a tripod. Here's my first aid kit. There's my life straw. My my solar blankets. I don't have the clothes in here right now because I probably took them out to wash them. But I generally carry like depending on what time or when I'm going up, either a long sleeve, an extra pair of socks, and sometimes if I'm going somewhere, I go on the mountains out here in Washington. The weather can really change, especially when you get in like the fall season. The weather can be 70 and then beautiful, and you get up to the top of the mountains and then a storm comes in and you're sitting in 40-degree weather. So bring, a compactable coat. And as a last little tip, this one's getting kind of lengthy, I feel like. As a last little tip, what I would do is I would bring flip-flops in your truck, or my truck, in your car, whatever. Leave them in your car, because if you go on a hike, there's nothing better than taking off your shoes and socks and putting on your flip-flops. Or for those people that wear Crocs, wear your Crocs, and driving home with that. It makes your feet feel so much better. And then lastly, I always get, on my way there, extra Gatorade and extra food, or I just pack extra food and I leave it in the car. So that's debatable if you want to leave food in the car if you're in the mountain area because of bears. But I leave it in the glove box in the car so that if something happens and I run out of provisions on the trail and I make it back to the car and I'm starving, I'll have some stuff there, some extra water, some extra food. I did go on a hike last season that was like a 12-mile hike in one day, and we gained like 3,000 feet. It was ridiculous. And I came about a mile and a half out, I started getting severely dehydrated, to the part where like my lips were sealed together and my tongue was sealed together, and I was out of water, and we were going up a hill or going down a way where there wasn't any runoff or anything like that where I could get water. So I was starting to get in a hurting shape, but I had provisions back in the car, which made it glorious when I got back. So always think about stuff like that. I mean, even if you're an experienced hiker, stuff like that happens. So good luck, guys. Tell someone when you guys go on those long ones, tell someone where you're going, give them the route, all that kind of stuff. Stay safe out there. There's some other real quick, other safety, self-protection out there. I rarely travel with bear spray, sometimes because they're not gonna be around really. If you have an RC car, they're gonna run away from the noise, or if you have your dog. But I always carry a knife. I have a SOG multi-tool, which has a saw on it and pliers and all that kind of stuff. Always carry one of those. I always have a spare Swiss Army knife in my pack. And if you're into the things that go bang, carry the thing I was told is small ones piss those animals off, big ones will stop them. So so take that with a grain of salt, and stay safe out there, guys. And I hope I see you when you come down off the mountain. Do you know what happens when you eat aluminum foil? Speaking of sheet metal, head over to scalemetalsupplies.com to find all sorts of bend and braze projects for your tiny truck. From the new Fast Dash, hot seats, shock boxes, Scale Metal Supplies has you covered. When you check out, use code TACOBOUTRC to get a 15% discount at checkout. Don't forget, scalemetalsupplies.com. Go check them out. They got all kinds of cool stuff there for your tiny truck building needs. I should not have done that. As Ron Burgundy would say, I immediately regret that decision. So, I stopped eating fast food probably a couple months ago. No particular reason, I just thought I was eating too much of it. It's probably not the most healthy thing, obviously, and I just didn't like how much it was costing. It's really easy in my lifestyle to eat fast food because I'm just always on the run, always on the go. So when I made that decision, I was like, okay, what's going to be the cause of that decision? Well, it was sometimes making my wife not happy because we'd be somewhere and, she got over it quick. But at first it was inconvenient, right? Because I was like, nope, not going to eat that. And we'd go and the kids would get something to eat and she would get something to eat. And then I'd starve it out until I either got home or found somewhere where I could get like a sandwich or something like that. So that was one of the cause and effects of that. And it was just like I said, it was, I'm kind of wanting to be a little more healthy. The reason why I ate it today, and this might be a little TMI, is because I'm going on a trip soon and I'm trying to culture my stomach for the event. So I know I'm going to be out in the world doing my thing, and I got to make sure that I'm not going to have the worst case of BGs when I'm out there because I'm eating fast food again. So that was the point for today. Had a delicious, what was it called? The ultimate cheeseburger at Jack in the Box with no cheese because I don't do cheese, but it was delicious. It was good. But now I feel sluggish and like, I'm going to feel like I need to go in a food coma, but I'm sitting in the car recording a podcast, letting it all sit in before I head back into the shop to work. So, speaking of cause and effect and making decisions, I wanted to talk about setting a frame set for success. This is today's man talk, right? So what I mean by that is let me paint a little illustration. The way you see the field determines your success. So like the way you kind of see or set your kind of surroundings is going to determine how the outcome is. Like for instance, I'll use this podcast as an example. Just like any other kind of social media, I know it's going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight success. I wish it would, but that's just not the way it's going to be. It's going to take time to get the numbers and for people to get the word out. So do me a favor, if this is the first time listening, here's the cheesy stuff that everyone always says. If you like it, follow, leave a comment, share it up, all that kind of stuff. Help me get this thing rolling. But I know that this is not going to be an overnight success. So I have to set some goals. I have to set some goals that are attainable and some goals that I think are going to stretch me and make me uncomfortable. And then it goes way beyond that, I think. So, people say, a hot word right now is manifestation. I think there's a couple different ways of looking at that. I am a firm believer of manifesting your destiny, but I am a firm believer in that, and not the woo-woo way of saying that. I'm a firm way of it meaning get off your butt and do it. So the other thing, people do manifestation of that. They do a dream board. And then, I would say what are your action items? What are you going to do to make you get closer to that goal? Now, here's the stretch. Here's where it gets hard. If you have something like this, you want to write down a list of what your goals are. But here's the kicker. Here's the one that no one tells you. And here's the one that I'm going to say is what all this is worth. Write a list of things that you're willing to sacrifice, right? So let me repeat that. Write a list of things that you're willing to sacrifice to get to your goal. So for an example, my kids' education in their environment is my number one thing right now. It means the most to me. It means the most to raise my kids right. I want my kids to take care of me when I can't do it anymore. So that's my number one thing. So, some of my things my thing is that we don't have a nice new fancy house. We have an old house. We bought it in 2010 when everything was low. and we bought the ugliest house on the street so we could just get into it. Now, we could move because now it's worth a lot more, but we want that payment to be low because I want my kids to be in a private school. Our cars, we don't drive new cars. My car I'm currently recording this in is a 98 Chevy truck. My wife's car is like a 2012, and then I have my old truck, but we don't drive new cars because we don't want car payments. But it's also so I can get that goal of keeping my kids in a school. Some of the other things that other people can equate to, maybe if you don't have kids or something like that, and maybe it's work more. I do this also because I own a business, but sometimes you have to put in more hours, but putting in that more hours equals more freedom, right? So that's one thing that I've been very successful with in my eyes. In my eyes, I've been successful with having flexibility at work. But then that also comes with what I'm saying, sacrificing. Well, I'm sitting in my driveway of my shop today because I just went and had lunch, and it is 5:30 almost. And I just had my lunch, and I'm recording a podcast, and I'm going back to work after this. So that, as I burp up that gross sandwich, that is my sacrifice. So you got to look at, the goals and sacrifice are the same coin. You can't have one side without the other. So look at things like that. Your choices will create your challenges. So micro choices, are like the snooze button, talking to people that are going to suck your time away, all that kind of stuff. These are, or like, for instance, when I was hustling and I did work for someone at a firm, I was first one in, last one out. When I coach baseball, I'm always yelling at the kids, one more. And I say, you know why? Because there's always going to be that kid on the other side of your team, or like on the other side of the diamond, that stayed and did one more. They did one more rep. They took one more pitch. They did one more push-up. So if you can do one more than what you think you're done, you're going to be one up on them. That was a big thing for me. One of the little micro decisions could be something like staying off your phone, right? That phone is I'm hyper guilty of this. It is the worst time suck ever. It's just horrible for me, for time management. Just, it's not good. But, your career is, and kind of who you are, your reputation, is the sum of all these like micro choices, I think. So, it doesn't mean you have to be like the top of your career or anything like that. But if you're a person of good integrity, the people that will understand that is they'll see that based off all these little micro decisions that you do. So I guess going on to the third point of this, one thing I heard was you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your preparation. Sorry, had to cough. I don't have a mute button on this podcast. Deal with it. So you fall to the level of your preparation. So, for instance, listen to your surroundings. Actively listen to your situation. So what active listening is, people, I think, get listening very confused. They get listening with hearing, but they don't get listening with like active. So like, for instance, if you're in a conversation or say a debate, active listening is listening with the intent to understand what they're talking about. It's not listening with the intent to reply. So clear that up. So you're not sitting there in an argument and you're listening to the argument and you're waiting for you to kind of fire your zinger. You're listening so that you can understand their side of the argument. I love debating people on things like this because I listen to understand what they're saying. And then the key to a good argument or a good debate, and I don't mean argument, I mean in a negative way, I just mean like debate or when you're having a conversation, the key to that is to listen actively, soak it all in, kind of digest it. And this could happen with a matter of seconds before you reply. Maybe, give it 5 seconds before you reply. And then play chess with that, how you go back to it. So that is something that is really important when it comes to your actions. if you have an interaction coming up, practice for it. It's, my kid, I try to kind of show my kid this stuff, but, not really teach him it yet, just kind of show him through the actions. But it's like practicing for the track, understanding. We practice for the double single, we practice for the triple. We, have scenarios where maybe his battery is not fully hot or meaning it's, tired, and he's got to understand how to drive his car in different situations. These are things that you prepare for so that you know how to handle them. And, it's change up your practices every day to get prepared for that. And I guess one of the last ones, I'm just kind of going over my notes here real quick, but one of the last ones is, or I would say would be, lost my place in my notes. So I forgot who said this. It was some bodybuilder, but everyone wants to be a bodybuilder, but no one wants to lift the heavy ass weights, right? So, if you're striving to be a content creator and you're making one video a week, good job for doing something, but as Matthew McConaughey says, those are rookie numbers. You got to bump those numbers up in this racket. So, meaning, if you want to be great at something, you got to do it, man. You got to just get out there and do it. Whether that's being a good board member, put yourself in those situations. If that's being a good coach as much as you can. Have as many practices as you can. Get as many games under your belt as you can. Want to be a good racer? Get out there and practice. You want to be a good crawler? Go trailing. Find the rocks. Understand how your car, reacts to it. You want to be a good builder? Build more cars. There's always excuses. There's always excuses. Oh, I can't afford to build more cars. Well, build one, drive it, tear it down, build it again. Build it with a different, I did that several times when I first started. I would build a car, tear it down, build it again in a different style, tear it down, build it again, and then, sell it or whatever. There's a lot of those different things. Everyone wants to be great at something, like I said, but, it's the matter of who's willing to put in the work. It's the dedication, it's the discipline, it's all that stuff. It's the discipline to stay with it. I'm trying to be disciplined about this podcast. I'm going to have some time issues in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I have to be disciplined that I'm going to have to try to pump out 2 podcasts a week so that I have one in my back pocket. So if I can't get to a new one, I'll have one ready to go. So that's the discipline, right? That's the discipline part of it. So I guess my question to you, amigos, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about the thing that you want to do? Do you want to climb up? Do you want to start your own business? Do you want to be an RC racer? Do you want to be an RC influencer? Do you want to be a better boyfriend, husband? Do you want to be a better dad? What are you going to do about it? Think about these things. And I think that probably one of the best things to start with is that list of goals or what you want to get, but then also put that list of what you're willing to sacrifice. Once you get through all that, you're on your way to greatness. But I'll just leave it with that, guys. What are you going to do about it? Are you looking for something special for that special scale truck in your life? Head over to spec-rc.com and check out their one-of-a-kind, well, they're not one-of-a-kind, but they are very limited run custom CNC wheels for crawlers. They have wheels for crawlers, wheels for the SCX6. Now he takes orders and he's got special rings too. So put a ring on it with that. But he takes special orders. You have to follow him on Instagram and on Facebook to see when the books are open. But then that's when you can order these wheels. And these wheels are gorgeous. We just talked about them in the creative process part. And oh my gosh, he made a set of wheels for me that were blue anodized with red anodized with machined pieces and blue rings, and they are gorgeous, and we used them for a Captain Insano build a year or two ago. So these wheels are amazing. Ask anyone who's got them. They are like the jewelry on your rig. Go over there, check them out, and get a set ordered up for them. Welcome to the Sombrero Spaceship, amigos. Put on your tin hats, go down to your lead-lined basement. We're about to be teleported into a new dimension. One that it is okay to investigate and question all the conspiracies without that black sedan showing up outside your house. Look over your shoulder one more time. It's time to get into it. I'm your host, the Chupacabra, Pablo Guerrero. Contrail, noun. Streaks of condensed water vapor created in the air by an airplane or rocket at high altitudes. Chemtrail, noun. A long-lasting airplane contrail believed to be composed of harmful chemical or biological agents that are dispersed as part of a conspiracy as to manipulate the environment or the population. Wow. What say you, amigos? Are you guys down? Are you guys in your lead-lined basement or what today? So, this is interesting. So here's I'm going to try to keep this one to 13 minutes. Odd number, odd topics. Let's go. So, a contrail is basically the water vapor from a jet engine or a rocket that will basically create those streaks that go across the sky. On a perfectly blue sky, sometimes you see streaks that go from left to right, or maybe you'll see a few crisscrossing streaks or whatnot from a plane. That is a contrail. A chemtrail is the conspiracy side of that. So the contrails are basically like the exhaust of the plane. So in the exhaust, I mean, you're going to have all kinds of byproducts in exhaust. So that's part of the claims that have happened. So some claims of chemtrails are decades ago, the sky was clear and more blue. There's unnatural clouds, the strange weather phenomena, and physical illness. So what would be the purpose of these chemtrails? So theoretically, they could manipulate the weather. They also, one of the reasons they said they could do it is for human population control, or chemical warfare, or solar radiation management. So solar radiation management, that was an interesting one that I went across. But is this, one of the things I was looking at with this after kind of doing the research is, so let me back up a few steps. So I am not a conspiracy theorist. I enjoy these as entertainment, but like everyone, I say we all kind of assign a little bit of agreement with some of these conspiracy theories. So I enjoy them. I like to look at them from all different angles. I think we're going to start something where we're going to talk about, I'm going to start polls and be like, is this believable or is this totally unbelievable? And we're going to do a poll on that. So kind of getting back, is this one of the ideas or concepts I had is this the new and like a new industrial war complex, but with weather? I don't remember who published it, but it said, this was back in like the 50s or 40s, and it said, he who controlled the weather controls the world or controls the war. And so I think that was during World War II, actually. I'm not sure who said it. But anyhow, I think my personal look at this is that it does seem to align with the theory of weather manipulation or modification. Now, I'm just going to leave it at that, I guess. So the idea is that these chemtrails release nano metals to control the weather patterns in the clouds. So they have aluminum and heavy metal oxides in them. I guess, how do we prove this, right? So what are the possibilities of this? Well, if you look at it, it is possible. It's possible to spray pesticides, herbicides. It's possible they used Agent Orange in Vietnam. And it is the one that seems most viable to me is the weather manipulation, because of it. They have done studies of cloud seeding, and what cloud seeding is that they pump particulates into the clouds, and that will dictate if the cloud will release moisture or hold moisture. And it's like pumping the clouds full of steroids. So they basically impregnate it with the chemicals, it makes the reaction, and then that goes on from there. So there are a couple different things, and China, I'm sure you're listening, because why aren't you? This isn't the TikToks, but I'm sure you're listening anyway. But so one of them is the cloud seeding. In 2008 at the Beijing Olympics, they were concerned about the outdoor parts being bad weather, so they allegedly cloud seeded the clouds prior to the Olympics. It rained for a few days to get the pollution down in the air, and then they had crystal blue skies for the Olympics. That's one thing that they said would happen. Not sure if it was before or after the fact it was published. However, there was a story and you can look this up. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to pull it up real quick on the interwebs. So in China, they made a snowstorm happen, and it's documented. Snow storm, typing it up into the computer. So they claim to have done the first artificial snowfall, and this was in 2009. So if you look up the news, 2009, Chinese snowstorm, it closed 12 highways in China, and it was man-made. And so based off of their cloud seeding, the interesting thing is that this stuff kind of went away and came back, and so there wasn't a whole lot of talk about it. But then this happened around the same time as the Olympics for the snowstorms. It's interesting. So if you I'll let you guys do the research on that. You can go and look it up. It's on CNN, it's on Reuters, I think it's on the New York Times. I'm just looking at the different. Scientific American talks about cloud seeding. Time Magazine, how did the Chinese create snow? So yeah, and it actually shows pictures of it. It's pretty impressive. It's a very exciting thing to think about. Now, is it possible to cloud seed and create tornadoes? Or is it possible to cloud seed and create hurricanes or create droughts? I don't know if that totally exists on that global level. It makes you wonder. We have balloons flying over us, allegedly, that are just weather balloons, but what kind of data are they collecting of this weather pattern? Are they trying to collect to see if they're seeing if the cloud seeding is working? If they're trying to see patterns so they can cloud seed? It makes things really interesting, and there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the world today when it comes to environmental things and to UFOs and all that kind of stuff. yeah, so I'm interested to see what people think about this. Now, in my opinion, this is probably more far-fetched than anything else when it comes to chemtrails. And here's kind of why I'm looking at it that way. So it's not just Chinese planes flying over dropping stuff when you're in middle America seeing chemtrails. Could it be U.S. stuff? I don't know. I mean, this is coming out of commercial planes. I know commercial pilots, they have to walk the aircraft and make sure everything's there. They're going to see a rogue nozzle hanging off their plane, blowing out this kind of stuff. Could it be something that's put into the fuel? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised about that. I mean, when they changed the chemical makeup of gasoline with the ethanol versus the lead, that made big changes, and with emissions and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but I think this one's going in the fish taco category. So this one's a little fishy to me. But it is exciting to see. It's exciting to hear people talk about it. I would be very excited to see how they could create weather and see some real-time studies of that. Maybe, I mean, I've seen things where they've created, rainfall indoors kind of a thing. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Sorry, gotta wet the whistle here. Getting a little parched with all the talking. Oh, sweet, delicious lemonade. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because if that's the case, in places that are dry that need it, and I think about China because they've had a drought. Is that what happens when they have the floods? Are they cloud seeding and they got the thing wrong, and then all of a sudden they're flooding down now because they've had some torrential rains? I don't know. And it's interesting. Why aren't we trying that, or why aren't we talking about the science behind that in America? So look for the the polls that I'm going to be posting on social media, and let's see if we can get some people's ideas. So before I go, I'm going to spin the picker. I don't know if this thing has audio or not. We'll see if it does. Hopefully it's loud enough to pick up. So I have the Sombrero Spaceship Conspiracy Picker. I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to see what next week's conspiracy is going to be. That way you guys can do your own research, and I'll do my own research. Let's see if it makes any noise. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Bling, bling, bling. Let's see. Where's it stopping? Oh, keep going. Yes. False flag events. This one's going to be potentially inflammatory. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how this isn't going to ruffle people's feathers. There's a lot of current events that are worrisome of false flags with the Tin Hatters. But if you have an idea for something that you want to get on the list, I have a full list. Hear the train. That's how you know I'm real. So I have a list of conspiracies in here. If you have one you want added, shoot it over to me on DM. Leave me a voicemail, comment on the YouTube or on the Instagram, and I'll see if it's not already on this list. We got a bunch on here. Let's see if I can read through the list really quick. Moon landing hoax, chemtrails, flat earth, reptile people, Denver airport Illuminati, let's eat bugs, false flags, blue beam, Rushmore secrets, Bigfoot, Alaskan mind control, and true conspiracies. Well, hopefully I'm not taken away in the next 5 minutes, but if I